Now it is my pleasure to introduce the President and CEO of Habitat for Humanity. He began his career 29 years ago working at Habitat International's headquarters in Georgia. Since coming to Portland 19 years ago, Habitat has grown into a region-wide leader. In just the last 5 years, the Portland region has tripled the number of people that it serves. That's incredible. Under his leadership, Earth Advantage has even recognized Habitat as the Green Home Builder of the Year. And the Portland Business Journal put Habitat on its list of most admired nonprofits. All very important and impressive accomplishments. So please give a warm welcome to the stage this afternoon, the heart of Habitat for Humanity, Mr. Steve Mezzanetti.
Thank you, Brenda.
Yeah, we get to sit down and get comfortable. I can talk to you forever. Ooh. And I left my phone up there. We're supposed to talk about 15 minutes, but I just may go rogue since I don't have a timer. So Steve, tell me about your long career, almost 30 years. Tell us about your why. Like, what has kept you engaged for so long with Habitat?
Sure, yeah. I think one of the things I love about Habitat, the great things about Habitat, are the people I get to meet. And people like you are amazing volunteers and donors and supporters, the home buyers who we get to know, our amazing staff who I have the privilege of working with. But when I think about what has got me involved with Habitat, kept me involved for half my life and probably the rest of my life, it's really the impact that Habitat has on children. I first got involved with Habitat when I was in college, studying to be a teacher. I had my first experience in the classroom as a third grade teacher in a pretty small rural community. And I was this young guy ready to teach, and my kids weren't ready to learn. They were hungry when they came to school. They were sick all the time. I was there for 6 months, and about half the kids were gone within that 6-month period. Some of them left and came back, which means they moved twice in just that short period of time. So at Habitat, we get to see that impact that a stable home has on children. And we get to see that firsthand. In fact, we did a study a number of years back and found that 92% of kids who grow up in a Habitat home in Oregon graduate. So that's really why I love this mission.
Okay, yeah. Big round of applause. So I do live TV all the time, and something is always kind of going wonky, and you just roll with it. But audio guys in the back, is there anything that I can do? Would you like me to be on a stick mic to reduce some of the feedback? Yes, no? Is there anything you need us to do? Ooh, it got quiet all of a sudden. I like that. Maybe they figured it out. Okay, we will press on then. So for the past few years, having a stable home has really become more important than ever. Can you talk about what you've seen as far as families, how they have weathered the pandemic under these current circumstances?
Yeah, sure. Most of us have heard, and it talked about how the pandemic was hardest for those who were already suffering, were already struggling because they had low incomes and trying to survive. And that's something we definitely saw firsthand. And it's not even just the pandemic, right? We think about the last couple of years, and we had to shelter from wildfire smoke because of air quality, ice storms, and power outages. It brings to mind a family that we got to know this past year, Shamsa. She's married and has 3 young children. Her husband's in a wheelchair, so he has quadriplegia. And they were in this 2-bedroom apartment. He needed 1 bedroom for for just his equipment. So she and her 3 children all shared the other bedroom. And then COVID hit. And now it's a classroom, right? They're doing Zoom school, and that doesn't work in this small of a space, this overcrowded space. So now she moved into a 4-bedroom home in Northeast Portland, and it's 10 Habitat homes together. It was designed specifically to meet her husband's needs. The kids have their own bedrooms, and she talks about how her Habitat community has really become family to her and become her support network. So.
That's a wonderful story, yeah. I mentioned earlier that so much of the news these days is finding solutions for homelessness and finding some type of affordable housing because everything is just in short supply. There are a lot of different ways to shelter people. Can you say more about why home ownership specifically is so important?
Yeah, sure. It might even seem a little strange to be focused on home ownership when we see so many people who don't even have shelter, right? And we know that one of the main reasons we have so many people living without a home is because of the lack of housing. So we need more housing, and we need more housing of all types and all sizes. But the greatest demand for housing is of the entry-level homes that are big enough for families to move into. And that's not getting built. In fact, Habitat got started in the 1980s, and back in the 80s, the private sector was building homes, and half of the homes that got built were these entry-level homes. And now, less than 1 out of every 10 homes that gets built by the private sector is this entry-level home. So we're not building enough, and we're not building the right homes either. So Habitat, of course, is building homes, and as a result of the market, there's a lot of pressure on rents, which cause rents to go up, like you just talked about, the rising rents. But when Habitat moves a family into a home, they free up one of those rentals. So it actually helps that next family move up the continuum of housing as well.
Yes, yes. So I know that Habitat, the heart of the mission is building homes. But you also have a home repair program. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, so during the recession, we started to see families in the neighborhoods that we were building in were losing their homes because they couldn't do the critical repairs that were needed, like replacing the roof. They couldn't afford to make those repairs. So we started a critical repair program. We replace roofs, we do siding, we do windows. We make accessibility additions on homes, like wheelchair ramps, and we go into homes as well, helping to allow older folks to age in place. And we've seen the impact of this program is really incredible. And it obviously costs a lot less to help a family stay in a home than to build a home for them if they don't have one.
But it's such a holistic approach. I love that about Habitat. So this next one is complicated because it's protracted. So it has been decades since racist housing policies were outlawed, most notably the Fair Housing Act of 1968. Still, though, communities of color own far fewer homes than their white counterparts. The gap between, this blew me away, the gap between black and white home ownership is as large today as it was 100 years ago. Think about that. The gap is as large as it was 100 years ago. In Oregon, that gap is around 30%. Decades of discriminatory housing policies, such as redlining, continue to impact black home ownership. I know that is a big subject, but how is Habitat addressing something like that?
Yep, we could be here all day on that.
Right.
So yeah, we know that policies and practices for decades that were created with the intention of keeping our neighborhoods segregated, with the intention of keeping people of color from buying homes, have worked, right? We also know that, so redlining, for example, right? That most folks probably know what that is. They actually colored in parts of the map in North and Northeast Portland, this Albina district, where neighborhoods right around where we're sitting today, and lenders wouldn't lend to families that wanted to buy homes in that district. Then comes urban renewal. So all the African-American families that live in that district are renting because they couldn't buy. Urban renewal comes in with the plans and intent to raise property values. So investments happen in the neighborhood. New businesses come in. Light rail comes in, and that works as well. Values go up. But who benefits? It's the white landlords and landowners who don't live in the neighborhood, maybe even don't even live in the state. And the black families from this neighborhood now can't afford to stay in their neighborhood they've been in for generations. And that we see again and again. At Habitat, we got started in the same neighborhood. 1981 on 14th Place, we built our first homes and have always been focused on providing homeownership opportunities for the most disenfranchised, people who are being left out. And are proud that more than 80% of our home buyers throughout our history have been households of color.
We just did an interview about this very thing with a gentleman, and his soundbite wrecked me because he really underscored what you just said. And he said, you know, they're pushing us out, gentrification is, and then when I go back to my neighborhood, people look at me like, why are you here? And I was like, oh. So I know that Habitat has a Black home ownership initiative. Will you explain more about how that works?
Sure, yeah. So this is brand new. It's part of a national effort that's happening and getting implemented at the local level. And our Black Home Ownership Initiative, first of all, is going to be Habitat reaching out and just understanding the issues and the barriers that exist for Black families that are unique. So we'll be gathering that information. We'll be talking to many of the people in the room here who are Black leaders and residents in our community. And we're Habitat. We're not going to just publish a report and put it on the shelf. We're going to get to work. So we're going to identify new strategies, new programs, and help more families get into homes.
Okay. So Habitat, I know, is always looking to the future. There will no doubt be new challenges with the economy and with housing and on and on and on. How does Habitat plan to tackle issues that maybe you don't even know what's coming yet? What's the plan?
Yeah, what's the plan? So we already have more homes under construction than we've ever had before. We've got about 100 homes under construction now. You mentioned we're building from Southeast Portland all the way out to Hillsborough. Our next 100 homes are in the process of being permitted. Some people in the room here are helping with that right now. And that will include our first homes in Lake Oswego, as well as our largest Habitat project in our history, over 50 homes in the Southwest Portland community of Hillsdale. But Habitat can't build enough homes, right? But we know our community can. So our new strategy that we're just getting started on is to partner with the private sector, builders, developers, and other nonprofit developers, where they can build the homes. They know how to do that. And Habitat will come in and work with the families and help them to get affordable mortgages to buy those homes. And we expect that can double the number of families that we help each year.
That's so exciting. Yeah, that really is. I agree. You should applaud. Bravo.
Now, an important component to that we'll also be investing more in is around policy changes. So we need smarter housing policy that paves the way for more of these entry-level homes we've been talking about to get built, and to make it easier for everyone to build homes more quickly and more affordable as well.
I feel like you took us to church on that one, because it does. It starts from the top down and the bottom up, everybody working together. I want to ask you one last question, and you can go any way you want with it, but what gives you hope about the future?
Well, Hope Builder gives me hope. We've got 1,000 people here in the room showing up for Habitat, and you are showing up for your community, showing up for your neighbors. It gives me hope because we have the resources in our city to solve our housing problems. And I'm pretty sure we know how to do it. So all that's missing is the will. And the will I can see is in this room. It's not just you. We have over 10,000 people every year that support Habitat in some way right here in the Portland region. So all of you reaching out and expanding this fold really gives me hope that we can realize our dream, which is that everyone has, at the very least, a safe and affordable place to call home.
You do amazing work. I call them the heart of Habitat. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Steve Mezzanetti. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda.
I could talk to him forever.